I had my birthday, and like I guess like I'm feeling like a lot of people don't like birthdays, and that's not me. Like, I really, really like birthdays, and I really like the birthdays of the people that are closest to me. I just get super excited about being able to celebrate them, and I guess it's my strength of gratitude, right? Like, I just feel really, really grateful that they're in my life and that we've had the time that we've had. And so when it's my birthday, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I have a lot of appreciation for my life and gratitude. And something that I've noticed, though, and I don't know if like you guys have this experience, but like when I manage to touch joy and feel it, like it often comes with like an almost instantaneous like loss, like awareness of loss. That somehow when I let my love in and like I actually feel the joy that love brings, like it just like the other side of that coin is the loss of the thing we love. And this natural cycle to life. So it always like I love my birthday, but it also opens me up to this like really vulnerable place where I end up having a mixture of emotions, and then I really reflect on like how I'm using my time. Like, am I using my life well, right? Am I wasting that time? And I really have this like, I don't know if it's a fear. I guess it would be a fear, but like I have this thing where like I just really don't want to die regretful. I really, really don't want to feel like I've wasted my life. And so so I thought like we could like dive into this idea of regret on our deathbed and maybe use it in a way that's motivational to inspire us to do things now that maybe we won't experience the regret when we're passing. So I'm going for you guys. I'm like, life, vulnerability, hi, we're here. So you've been warned, as usual. Like, when do we ever not go for it? But yeah, so I was really thinking about this, and like I want to start by like, yay, let's dive in. I love it. Thank you, Mrs. Scott. I want to like be as like authentic with you guys as possible, and I'm gonna share like what my like the regrets that I am the most worried of having that like are the most motivational for me not to have. So one is like I'm really worried that I'll regret that I haven't given something original to the world. You know, I talk about this a lot, but we're all unique individuals. The universe has never seen anyone like us. They never will again. So if we don't let our authenticity contribute something out of that uniqueness, the world has truly missed out. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to die having left my gift inside of me. Yeah, that's a big one. A really big one. I'm worried that I won't like love or let myself be loved enough, that I'll like live life with my heart too protected. So that's a big worry, and that protection will keep me from having the connection with people that I really, really, really want to have, and I'm afraid to have sometimes. Hey Yeti dude, welcome my friend. Hi. Yeah. So I'm also like somewhat worried that like I'll do something really stupid and leave something unsaid to the people that I care about, and that somehow by doing that I'll pass away and their grief is going to be harder because I haven't said something. Or maybe that I'll make like a monumental mistake and I won't be able to forgive myself in time. So I'll die regretting an action that I took. And also like I'm just worried I won't have enough fun. Like I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy it. I want it to be this special experience. So those are my like, that all came up on my birthday. Thank you, birthday, for the mixed gift of happiness and sorrow. So, but that brings us to this. So the stream today is Momento Mori, bye-bye regrets. Yeah, and Memento Mori is Latin for remember death. So it's not meant to make us afraid of dying. Like that's not the point. We're not trying to get that kind of a fear today. But it's Momento Mori, remember death, is meant to remind us how like precious, fragile, limited life is, so that we're less likely to waste it. And being in touch with our mortality that way can really protect us from making choices that lead to those deathbed regrets. And it can really help us choose to live meaningful lives now. So Memento Mori, remember death, motivates us. And hopefully after today, we'll all be living with a little bit more intention and awareness. Regret's a bitch. I don't want any of us to have it. And we probably have it already in our lives. And that's like, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit at the very end. But yeah, so here we go. Oh, you know what? Let me switch the music over so you don't hear someone talking behind me. Cool. Okay, so there is a retired palliative care nurse called Bronnie Ware. And palliative care, for you guys who don't know, because I used to not know this is end of life, like hospice care. So it's somebody who's helping you manage your pain as you pass away. And so she was in the field, I think for like 9 years, working with the dying. And she noticed that there are common regrets that humans have when they're dying in our culture. And so she actually wrote a book, if you want to read it. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, A Life Transformed by the Dearly Departed. And it's kind of a like a memoir and observational study in one. It's pretty cool. So we're gonna go through those 5 regrets, because chances are, because they're the most common ones, they're the ones that if we want to use Memento Mori to be motivated to change things, it's because we don't want to end up here on these 5 points. So the first one, which is the most common regret that she experienced from other people, is essentially that they wish they'd had the courage to live a life true to themselves and not the lives others expected of them. So they wished they were living an authentic life instead of somebody else's life or somebody else's version of what their life should be. And this is something like I talk about all the time. And I was like almost happy to see it here, because I'm like, oh, cool, we're on to something, right? So Bronnie writes that when people realize that their life is almost over, it is easy to see how many dreams have gone unfulfilled. Most people had not honored even a half of their dreams and had to die knowing that it was due to choices they had made or not made. I mean, like, what? Like, I can't even... Like, I can just, like, skim emotionally the top of that feeling, but then, like, I protect myself from really, really experiencing the empathy and going on that ride, because that sounds horrific to me. What I think is so interesting here, so I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The word courage. Because courage points out that the thing that stands between who we are and expressing who we are is fear. It's fear. So, which made me think of, in Game of Thrones when, like, I think Bran asks Ned something like, can a man still be afraid? Still be brave if he's afraid? And Ned replies something like, this is the only time a man can be brave. Right? So, like, we tend to have this idea of courage, or people who are courageous, as being fearless. And that's not the case. Courage and bravery is moving forward in the face of fear or despite the fear. So it's not that we ever get to this state where, like, we don't feel afraid to be who we are and to be vulnerable and share who we are, but it's that we get resilient and we are able to, like, trust that we can handle sharing our truth. And yeah. So Mrs. Scott says, we tell our kids that being brave means being afraid, but doing it anyways. Exactly. That's so... I wish you were my mom. Like, I wish... Or like my dad or whatever. Like, right? Like, I wish I would... No, my parents were awesome. What I'm saying is your kids are really lucky, because that's not a common understanding. And it's crucial. It's crucial because living a life on our own terms requires that we understand fear and courage, right? So yeah, so wise of you. Way to be a power mom. Yeah, so man, not being yourself and living your life according to somebody else's terms, number one regret of the dying. That's powerful, guys. Like, because the only person stopping you from living you is you. Like, that's it. So there's a lot of opportunity here to just choose to do it differently and memento mori yourself and maybe, you know, build a life that avoids this regret in the end. Yeah, we are. We are totally our own worst enemy. Yeah. So the second regret is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And there's a chance that maybe this regret won't apply to our generation as much as it did to the generation she was helping transition. Hello, Bordeaux Malcolm. Welcome. Hello. Yeah, we are talking about... I don't know if you realize what you've stepped into because we are talking about the top 5 regrets people have when they die. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So welcome. Yeah, so I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So she writes that so much that people regret having spent so much of their lives on the treadmill of the work experience. And so, you know, when we work too hard, and like if you're not yet like out of school, right? Like you could almost argue if you study too hard. But working too hard like denies you the time that's needed to like connect with the people you care about and do what's meaningful to you, to be authentic. Hi guys. So we've got, wow, hello. Punch life in the dick. Yeah. Hi, Frederick Nordell 11337 and Cat War. Yeah. I'm not gonna answer some of these questions for sure, but yeah. And I'm not like a therapist or anything, so I can't really tell you how to you know, cure your depression or anything like that. But it's certainly something that we all struggle with from time to time, so we talk about it a lot. Yeah. There you go. Mrs. Scott is on it. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that is a moment for sure. You guys, your names are so long. Stayed in the that you know who you are. Yeah, life punches us all for sure. And if, like, man, like, yeah. If you hang around, you'll learn a little bit, hopefully, because we basically talk about resiliency all the time and how, like, even though for sure life is going to punch us, like, we're able to handle it and then, like, even be better for it in the long run. So, yes. Hi, everyone. So excited to have you all here. So excited. We are talking about the top 5 regrets of the dying. What? Yeah, and we've covered 2 of them. So I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And then I wish I hadn't worked so hard is the one we're on. So yeah, like when we work too hard, right? And you guys like all know this, but when we work too hard, we don't have time left over to do what really matters to us and spend time with the people who really matter to us. And I think like, for me, and like weigh in you guys, like if this is not something you agree with, but at its best, I think work can be an expression of who we are, and it allows us to contribute our unique gift. So our work is like a channel for our authentic selves, all the while not taking too much time away from connecting with our loved ones. So like that's work at its best. Like that's the ideal that I strive for in life. And at its worst, work is like out of alignment with who we are, with our values, right? It's asking us to like breach our values, that it like doesn't let you express your authenticity, and that it like on top of all of that, it's just like a time suck, and you lose out on spending time with the people you care about. So hopefully like you guys aren't in the worst case scenario for work. If you are, there's just tons of stuff you can do to like start shifting that away from the worst case towards the best case. Creativity is an amazing gift that we all have. But hopefully you guys there's some of you that are experiencing the best kind of work and that are working towards building that kind of work for yourself. Yeah. So the third top regret of the dying is, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. All of these make me so sad. Like, I don't want any of us to feel this way, right? Like, dying sucks enough. We don't have to, like, feel all this regret on top of it. But this nurse writes that many people suppress their feelings in order to keep peace with others. As a result, they settled for a mediocre existence and never became who they were truly capable of becoming. Many developed illnesses relating to the bitterness and resentment they carried as a result. What? Like, what? So, yeah, like, this is people pleasing, right? Yeah, there we go, Mrs. Scott. Yeah, we did. It is. It's totally people pleasing. And it's like when we do that, like we disconnect from our authentic self. So it's tied directly to the first top regret of the dying. And again, like courage is coming up, right? So the only thing standing between you and sharing your feelings is fear. And yeah, like it's just like that damn fear, guys. It's always kind of like poking its head in. Yeah, so I guess authenticity is kind of like it's all over these things is what I'm seeing. Yeah, so number 4 is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. So Bronnie writes, there were many deep regrets about not giving friendships the time and effort that they deserved. Everyone misses their friends when they are dying. Okay, so this one seems like it's tied to number 2, which is like, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Because if I had more free time, I could connect with my friends, right? And stay in touch with them. And, ooh, tell me about your mixed feelings. Share your feelings. Express away. Express away. Yeah, and I wonder too, like, so she, like, this was a little while ago, so she, like, it's not our generation that was passing away. So I'm wondering how these are going to change and what new regrets will come up for our generation. But, okay, so if a friendship needs that much of your time and attention, I don't know if it's worth it. Yeah, so true. Yeah, and I don't know, like, if she's saying, like, this is all personalized, right? So, like, the amount of, like, contact you want to have with your friends is going to vary, like, person to person. So, like, when you're on your deathbed, like, if what would satisfy this regret would be having, like, one friend that you stayed in contact with, like, once a month or once every 6 months, awesome, right? Like, you know yourself. Yeah, it is. It is, like, it's more of just, like, a wish regret, for sure. So one of the kind of cool things here is that, like, Brene Brown and, like, a lot of other scientists and researchers are basically finding that our brains are hardwired for connection, that as a social species, we're not just dependent on each other for, like, survival, but also for our well-being and happiness. So we need to have connections to really thrive in life, and I think... And connections, again, like, require us to be vulnerable, so they require courage and bravery. So it's none of this is easy, but when we manage to do it, it's really beneficial for us. Yeah. Yes. So I guess, like, another thought here on authenticity and connection with friends is that, and this, like, goes to people pleasing, like, when we keep our, like, true self hidden, like, the reason why we do it is because we get rejected less, right? So there is a win there. But the trade-off is that, like, so no one's really going to, like, dislike us when we hide who we are. But the trade-off is that no one's really going to like us when we hide who we are, because they don't really know us. So for the meaningful connection with another human being, like deep friendships, like the kinds of connections that build our resiliency and like really add to our well-being and happiness, like they have to be based on authenticity, because you really can't find like kindred spirits unless you risk rejection. Like mind-blowing. Like, right? Like, why can't any of this be like simple and not painful? Yeah, I guess that's why we talk about resiliency. So the last one, the 5, was, I wish I had let myself be happier. So she writes that many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice. They had stayed stuck in old patterns and habits. The so-called comfort of familiarity overflowed into the emotions as well as their physical lives. So fear of change had them pretending to others and to themselves that they were content, when deep within they longed to laugh properly and have silliness in their life again. So there's kind of, yeah, I like it too. And in a way, I think this might be the most complicated one, because there seems to be like 2 parts that I'm noticing. Let's see if I can explain this. But like, so on the one hand, so happiness is a choice. Like that's what she's saying. Happiness is a choice, and most people choose not to let themselves be happy. And the 2 ways that I see her talking about this is, again, like choosing safety, comfort, and predictability, which comes with the cost of inauthenticity, over vulnerability, risk-taking, and authenticity, right? So choosing to live safely doesn't lead to a happier life. So that's one way you can choose not to be happy or deny your happiness. The second is by underappreciating what you have that's amazing, right? Like sometimes our brains are so good at being future minded or future directed, and sometimes that's a total kick in the ass, because if we're always looking to the grass being greener, we miss the amazing things in our lives, like the strengths that we have in ourselves that maybe we underappreciate, or our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our husband, our kids, our pets. Like the list is endless, right? But we tend to just not appreciate it. And yeah, so one thing we can do is the gratitude power up, and we did a video on that a while ago. So that's in the vault, so to speak. You can watch it again. But yeah, just choosing to like do a practice of gratitude on a regular basis would be one way that you could choose happiness now, and then not regret not choosing it later when you're at the end of your life, right? Yeah, and this other part, that happiness requires that we listen to ourselves, and that we be brave enough to choose ourselves and to live true to who we are and to what is meaningful to us. Like, here's like, all of this requires that you take responsibility for your life, right? Like, we're all here as a community to support each other, and that's amazing, and it's gonna help us punch back when life knocks us down, right? But at the end of the day, like, you're responsible for you. I'm responsible for me. Nobody can tell you who you are, what's important to you, what's meaningful, what do you value. Like, you have to find those things out for yourself. And you have to take that leap of faith to risk the growth, the change, the discomfort, the vulnerability, to say yes to that stuff, right? Yeah. Listen to yourselves. Listen to yourselves on what you need to feel happy. We are all way more wiser than we can even imagine. And you were the only expert on you. So, yeah. I don't know. This ended up being like way more, like I feel like this is way more intense than I meant it to be. So thanks guys for for going with me on this journey today. I obviously love talking about this stuff, but it's not always easy, right? Like we're talking about Momento mori, remember death, as a way to motivate us to live a life that is meaningful to us. Yeah. I didn't. See, that's the thing about me. Like, no, I was like, oh, this will be fun and exciting. No! Like, not everybody lives in my head. This is a case in point that nobody knows me like I know me. Yeah, no, I thought it would be a breeze. Haha. Nope. So I've got like a collection of quotes here on what I call deathbed regret. So I'm going to go through them. They're kind of interesting. There's a lot of similarities, and they seem to reinforce the idea of these 5 top regrets, which for those of you guys who are just like joining us now, the top regret of the dying is I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The second one is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. The third is I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. The fourth, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the fifth is I wish I had let myself be happier. So here's our quotes. Oh, Yeti dude. So Jeff Bezos, he says that when you think about the things you'll regret when you're 80, they're almost always things that you did not do. They're acts of omission. Very rarely are you going to regret something that you did that failed and didn't work. Yeah. And I think that's holding true. It's like, man, like, I wish I had fill in the blank. Right? Like, I wish I had been more happy. I wish I had stayed in touch with my childhood friend. I wish I had gone to the circus to be a trapeze artist, right? Like, whatever it is that you wanted to do that you didn't do. Sydney J. Harris says, regret for the things we did can be tempered by time. It is regret for the things we did not do that is inconsolable. Yeah. I think I agree with this. I don't know, like, if this is, like, universally true or scientifically true, but this feels true, at least for me, and, like, how I deal with regret. So there, like, this gets at, like, the two types of regrets, right? Like, one is, wow, I did that. I really wish I hadn't. Ugh. And then there's the regret of like, oh, my life is over. I really wish I had done this. And I guess what he's saying is that the things that we've done that we regret, like we do have the rest of our life to like forgive ourselves, like get closure or whatever to process it. But if we get to the end of the line and we just regret not doing things, we're out of time. So Raphael Sabatini says, regret of neglected opportunity is the worst hell that a living soul can inhabit. Yeah. Oscar Levant, it's not who you are, it's what you don't become that hurts. I don't know what you guys think, but this like brings up something I've been thinking about a lot, which is like, it seems like in order to feel fully alive, human beings need to be growing. And that when we're plateaued, our like well-being starts to diminish. And again, like, I don't know if there's research to like back this up in neuroscience or something, right? But it just seems to be the case. Like, this is just my anecdotal observations. But that's what this speaks to me, is that it's not who you are, it's who you don't become that hurts. Like, the idea of living a life where, like, I don't change, I don't grow, like, does feel like my version of personal hell. And that sometimes is enough to get me over the fear it takes to, right, to like actually change and to risk into fall. George Halas says, no one who ever gave his best regretted it. I don't know, like, do you guys have anything that, like, you did your best and at the end of the day it didn't work out and you regret it? I don't know if I have. So Mrs. Scott says there's something to be said about just staying in your little rut and letting the world pass you by. I mean, at times I feel like we have to do that, right? Like there's cycles to our growth, and sometimes we're just like not ready. That's totally fine. And then the Mr. Scott says the only regret should be that you didn't try. Like, that's how I feel. That's definitely how I feel, Scott. So just... I love you guys. But yeah, like you don't want to be like Rambo and just like go out there and like force your change and your growth and like attack life like a violent maniac, right? Like, trust, like, listen to yourself. There are gonna be days where, yeah, it's better to just sit inside and watch the world go by. Like, there are times where we're like hibernating, and that's okay, right? Like, that's sometimes I think perfectly needed, and yeah, it can even be happy. I think it's like when we stay there, like we overstay our own welcome, that we start to like have diminishing returns, and then we just have to go out there again. Like, it actually reminds me, Rambo had regrets, Yeti dude. He had regrets. Oh, cool. So Upright Oracle, for you, the ret often, yeah, like comes into comparison that leads to unhappiness. Yeah, for sure. Like when we are comparing ourselves to others, like how often is it like it comes back and we're like, oh, we're so much better? Like, that may happen, but most of the time I'm guessing like you're being like, oh, falling short in your own mind, and that doesn't feel good. Yeah, man, comparison, it's a tricky thing we do to ourselves. It's a tricky thing. But yeah, it is its own kind of rut, right? Like, it's one of those things we like beat ourselves up with so that, I don't know, like, yeah, like we are our own worst enemies, to go back to that point. Yeah. I wanted to... Yeah, I think I don't have anything else to say about that part. Okay. Harriet Beecher Stowe. Oh, I did have something else to say. So back to what Mrs. Scott was saying about like kind of this hibernating phase and like just watching the world go by, and like that's sometimes needed. It reminds me of the hero's journey, right? It's this circle, and we start out at home, we hear the call to adventure, which is like our authenticity saying, do this, go do this. And we either answer it or we don't. Let's assume that we do. We then step out into the fog of war. We go on the adventure. It's groundless, it's scary, it's risky, it's like we're vulnerable. We get beat up. We fall very, very flat on our faces. We meet amazing people. We grow, we change, we become a hero. We get what we wanted. And then we come back home and are making the world a better place. That's meant to repeat over and over and over again in our lives. But there is that time when we're at home. Like, that's a stage of that journey. We don't skip over it and just answer the call to adventure again. No, you go back home. And that's what that makes me think of. Sometimes you just need to be home. Yeah. Okay. Harriet Beecher Stowe. The bitterest tears shed over graves are for words left unsaid and deeds undone. Yeah, that's one of mine, that like I'm gonna die without saying something I wish I had said. Which can be kind of funny. Like when I really go there in my head and I'm like with someone, they're like, whoa, where is this conversation coming from, right? Because I'm like, I just want you to know that I love you and that you're, and this is why I think you're amazing. Like, that's a bit intense, and I've definitely done that to people. But hey, I won't die regretful. So in your face, friends, You have to deal with it. I'm a crazy person, and my friends know that. Yes. So John Barrymore, he says, a man is not old until he regrets... No. Let me start over. A man is not old until regrets take the place of dreams. I kind of love that. I kind of love that definition. Yeah. I would like, someday we'll do a stream on like what it means to age, because like, so I just had my birthday, right? And I'm in my 30s, but I have friends that are like talking about how we're all old now. What? Under like what rubric? What rubric? Because under this rubric, regrets have not taken the place of my dreams. Yeah. John Greenleaf Whittier. Of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these, it might have been. For of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest of these, it might have been. Yeah, I like, this has gotta be maybe like what people feel when like they missed out on their first love, right? Or like their first love got away from them. Like that's what that's like kind of conjures for me. And how like poignant like the idea of what might have been hits you. And then I can only imagine like being in palliative care, you know, and being like, oh, having that emotion for something. I don't know. So I guess like I'm okay. So I'm gonna do a personal story. So I lost my finger, and this is so embarrassing, but when I showed up to the hospital with my finger, and so they were doing a reattachment surgery, and it was like the first surgery that I was having. So it was like my first time under anesthesia, and I like had heard that people like sometimes like have a reaction to anesthesia and don't make it. So like I was actually afraid that I was gonna die. But the coolest thing happened, because like even though like my dreams like were like incomplete, like I actually didn't have any regrets. Like I got this amazing clarity, and like I just had amazing gratitude for my life. And I had no idea that like I was so satisfied with who I had become, what I had accomplished, because I hadn't become anybody. I hadn't accomplished anything. All I had done was pursued what mattered to me. So nothing was completed, nothing was achieved. And yet I was totally fine with that, like no regrets. So I guess I'm just sharing this to say like I'm kind of like painting this big picture. And it's easy to like focus on the attainment of like your dreams. And I don't actually think that matters. I think just only thing that matters is that you pursue them, that you live a life that's authentically your own, not that you like accomplish something. So it's actually like right there for the taking. Like nobody has to do anything for you. You don't have to like win any major battles. You just have to live authentically. To have no regret. Like it's, I don't know if that it will be true for everybody, but that was true for me, and it seems to be backed up by what this nurse has recognized with people. Oh my gosh, so Mrs. Scott, same for you? The first surgery you had, you called my dad's stepmom, was crying, telling them how much I love them. Yeah, right? Like it's scary stuff. Like it's scary stuff. You don't know. Like you don't know when you're going to surgery. Yeah. Oh, thank you for telling me that. I've always felt like so judgy about myself for being like, they're gonna put a finger back on my body. I may not make it. Like, I love you, husband. Nah. Yeah, the only thing, I had no regrets, but I did remember, the only thing like made me sad was that I didn't have more time with my loved ones. Like, that's it. Like, I accepted that might be the case, but like no, so no like regret there, just sadness for the loss of time, like time with loved ones. Yeah, crazy. So Jonathan Lockwood Huey, love that name, says, oh, wait. Yeti dude, they always make you sign that you might die. It's terrifying. That is true. It's like the hospital like plants in your brain the fear that you might not make it out of the surgery. Good point. Thank you for that. I'm not crazy. Okay. Oh, I get to say his name again. Jonathan Lockwood Huey. Regrets are the tears of choices not made and of good deeds left undone. Yeah, so it's like it all seems to come down to this. Did I say yes to my life? And if the answer to that is no, there's probably going to be regret. Voltaire says, every man is guilty of all the good he didn't do. That one's interesting. Every man is guilty of all the good he didn't do. So the way I understand guilt is it's very closely related to shame. So we do something bad, and shame says, I'm a bad person. Guilt says, I did something bad. So if I die leaving who I am on the table, not letting it create something unique that's by its very existence makes the world a better place, then I'm guilty of not doing the good I could have done. Yeah, I think I can get behind that. I don't think I would say it that harshly. Yeah. Oh, Zig Ziglar. Spend time with those you love. One of these days you will either say, I wish I had, or I'm glad I did. Yeah. David Grayson. Looking back, I have this to regret. That too often when I loved, I did not say so. Yeah, that goes back to having the courage to share your emotions. It's, God, you guys, it's so much about connection. It comes down again and again to connection and to authenticity. And I'm arguing that you can't have one without the other. Pretty crazy. So yeah, like from my experience and from what I've been reading is it seems that when we're dying, like what is really important to us, like often becomes crystal clear. Like right now it's kind of like hard to suss out. And there's a lot of like guessing, and then we have to like experiment and see if that was really important, right? That's like confusion, just confusion. Hearing your inner voice is not easy. But when we're dying, it's like whew, clear, like, yes, like, cool, like, that's it. Like, this is what I want. This is what's important. So, yeah. So, I guess I'm just curious, even though we don't have that like lack of confusion sometimes. What would you do differently if you, like the dying, had nothing left to lose? Right? What would you do differently in life if you were like the dying and you had nothing left to lose? Like if someone could just take the fear right away. Just erase the fear. Yeah. Big question that I just put out there. I'm not asking you to. You don't have to put that in chat if you don't want to. It's just a big question to think on. Eat all the ice cream! Yes! I would drink all the Coca-Colas. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, my two ice cream friends, for sure you guys would do that. It's got to be homemade ice cream though, right? Or Haagen-Dazs. Bungee jump, skydive. Interesting. So a lot of just like fun, like risk-taking fun for Upright Oracle. How so? See, oftentimes, like, and I don't know if this is what you're talking about, Mrs. Scott, but like I hear a lot from clients that, like, selfishness, like we judge ourselves as being selfish when we're doing something authentic because we view it as hurting the people we care about. Yeah, that's, yep. Yeah, and like ultimately it's a judgment call, right? But I have no idea if this is what like is going on for you at all, but oftentimes if we're in like the habit of people pleasing, we will view our like inner voice as selfish, and we use that as a way to reinforce the people pleasing. And sometimes what people find is that as they say yes more and more often to their authenticity, which means sometimes setting boundaries with loved ones, that they actually realize that it's not like it's not selfish. It's kind of a paradox, but that it leads to like better relationships, increased well-being and happiness, which is like feeds the relationships and all that kind of stuff. But that is like a huge topic. Huge. And at the end of the day too, like, and you know this, but like you're making the judgment call, right? So I thought this could be kind of interesting to look at the 5 regrets and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being like not at all true about you, or 10 like completely. So not at all is a 1, and then all the way up to 10 is like completely. And if you want to get a piece of paper, cool. But yeah, so we'll just score them real quick. And also, like, if you go to my website too, and you're like a Patreon member, you have access to like worksheets off of every stream, and this is all in there for this week, so you can do it there too. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 completely, are you living authentically? Thank you for sharing that, Mrs. Scott. So yeah, 1 to 10, are you living authentically? So 1 is I'm not living authentically at all. 10 is I'm absolutely living completely authentically. And then it's, are you spending your time on what matters most to you? Are you spending your time on what matters most to you? 1, not at all. 10, completely. And then, are you expressing your feelings? 1, not at all. 10, completely. And by the way, I'm not like advocating that like you want to be a 10, right? On all these things. Like there are going to be times where you it's probably better for you not to express your feelings. So there's not like a hard and fast rule here, right? We're just kind of like picking at the surface of this issue. So the next one is, are you staying in touch with friends? So 1, not at all. 10, completely. And are you choosing happiness? Are you choosing happiness? And what the cool thing is, once you've done that and you have your numbers, like something's going to jump out at you. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like I'm like a 8 on authenticity, like a 7 on feelings, but only like a 2 staying in touch with my friends, and I care about that. Right? So then you're going to be like, oh, there's an opportunity here to do something. So you're going to see some sort of opportunity to make a change. So looking over those numbers, are there any that you would like to move closer to a 10? And if there are, you can just ask yourself, like, what's something that you can do in the next 1 to 2 days to move your score 1 or 2 points higher? So we're not looking for a big change, right? Like, change doesn't have to happen that way. We're just looking for a little step. And one of the ways that I love, like, setting tasks for myself that are, like, moving me outside my comfort zone, which this will be doing, is I try to get a sweet spot. So I don't want to do something that's so scary that I'm not going to do it. And I don't want to do something that's so easy that it doesn't take any effort to do. So I'm looking for something that's just slightly outside of my comfort zone. That middle ground choice. And again, it's something that you could do in the next 1 to 2 days. And it's only moving you up 1 or 2 points. And then you just want to ask how you want to be accountable to do that. One type of accountability that comes to my mind is you could share it in chat. Then we're all going to know what you want to do, right? And you're going to be thinking that we know what you want to do. And we see you next week. We'll be like, hey, did you do that? Right? That's accountability. It could be anything. It could just be writing it on a little Post-it note, right? Or telling a friend about it. It could be whatever you want. But the idea is that that you're going to be held accountable to the thing you said you would do. And once you've done it, you're going to meet with success, right? Because it's this task that's not too hard and not too easy. So you're going to meet with success, and that's going to just inspire you to take the next step, to move it 1 or 2 more points. Or maybe you're like, that one's good. Now I'm going to go to this other one. So change doesn't have to be super hard, which is pretty cool. So does that all make sense, you guys? Da 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 da. Oh, I'm tired from my camping trip, and then I was up till midnight playing Stardew Valley. Yup. Can't help myself. Okay. Well, cool. I've got some bonus ideas. And, so it seems like it's out of left field. It's not. I was thinking about our, concept of retirement as, a cultural norm is really destructive. So it's this idea, right, that we work our butts off in order to, have some free time near the end of our lives to do what really matters to us. And I think that belief increases the likelihood that we're going to have some of these 5 regrets when we die. So boo that. Really boo that cultural norm. I wish I had it to show you. There's this amazing Sherman's Lagoon cartoon comic strip, and so Sherman's Lagoon is there's a shark and a crab that are really good friends, and they're sitting and their eyes are poking out of the ocean, and they're both watching the beach, and on the beach is a human reclined and sunbathing, drinking a cocktail, and the shark is what are they doing? I don't understand. And the crab is basically saying oh yeah, if you're a human, you work really hard your entire life, and then if you're lucky, you can spend your time doing nothing on the beach. And the shark just goes, well, why don't you just spend your time doing nothing now? And I've always found that so inspirational. And yeah, so I think to that point that we really can, I guess this is how I've chosen to live my life, and it works for me. But I've gotten really creative so that I could find ways to be living now instead of later, right? So doing the things that matter to me now, sunbathing when I need to, right? All of these things that people save for retirement, I really try to do now, even given my current financial restraints. And 2 ways that I think I've been able to do it is that I get really creative, and we all again have this immense capacity for creativity. And the other is that I live as minimally as possible, and that helps me free up money, basically, right? Because if I live minimally, I have to earn less. And this is all to say that it goes back to that number 2, right? I spent too much of my time working. We can do things now to free up time. And I know that oftentimes we feel really, really constrained by our financial reality and the financial prospects and all that kind of stuff. And there's truth to all of that. And yet, don't let your life pass you by. Don't let it happen. And again, at best, we can align our work with our authenticity and what matters most to us now, right? So and this can come, like, this is a whole other topic. There's tons of ways to do this, but if you can't cut back on the amount of time you work, you could ask yourself, like, how can I bring more of myself to the table, and how can I make this work more meaningful to me? Yeah. So, I mean, we have so much more. I think the tendency is that we feel stuck and we feel like we can't make a difference in our lives, but we can, and we aren't stuck. So much of the stuckness comes from here. And yeah, like we're here, we've got each other. Yeah, there's so much unsticking that can happen as if we just start to shift our perspective. Sharks know stuff. They do. I love sharks. I wonder if anybody ever has a shark as a spirit animal. That'd be a pretty cool one. So yeah, the other bonus thought is that we've looked at regret as a motivational tool. So Momento mori, right? What is it? Yeah, I did it right. Momento mori, remember death. But there's another way, right? Regret, so that's like Memento mori is regret as a motivational tool. There's the other kind of regret, which is the one we use to punish ourselves. And we use it to beat ourselves up for doing something we wish we hadn't done. And I talk about a perspective shift. As long as we're using it as self-punishment, we're going to be stuck. And we're just going to, it's not at all going to improve our situation, right? So what we can do is change our perspective, and we can just switch our thinking and look at the mistakes we've made as opportunities to change. So we use them as a learning lesson, like, okay, I wish I hadn't done that because, it resulted in this consequence, and that is out of alignment with my values, this and this and this way, right? Like, we learn from it. Like, maybe it helps us define what's really important to us, what we value, the kind of person we want to be. And if we hadn't made the mistake, we may never have known that crucial information about ourselves. So yeah, it's an opportunity to change, an opportunity to find where we want to change and who we want to be. So I found this quote from an article from the Huffington Post, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's a little bit long, but it's worth it. So the Huffington Post writes that the process of regret is one that provides nothing but suffering for ourselves as we begin to allow the past to dictate how we should feel now. Instead, we can use the past as a reference point to understand what adjustments we would like to make moving forward. The adjustments don't have to come out of pain, sorrow, regret, or judgment, but simply a choice to do things in a different way. We are learning all the time. We can very quickly slow that learning process down by getting stuck in the idea of regret. When it comes to making changes, be at peace with the past and remember that each moment is a new choice. That's one of the amazing things about the present, is that we choose every single moment who we want to be. And that choice is made by the actions we take. So if you regret something that you've done, just know that you don't have to be that person again. You don't have to do that again. You can learn and grow from it, and you can let it go. You don't have to punish yourself, right? We're all doing the best we can in any given moment. So what's the point of punishing yourself for something you did in the past when that was the best you were capable of doing at the time? So yeah, and life, you guys, memento mori, right? It's too short. It's too short to waste in self-punishment. And we, as a community and as a country, as a world, right? We need you to be you and to give us the gift of your uniqueness. We need it. Our world needs people who are going to change it for the better through their authenticity. So my last question for you guys today is, how can you forgive yourself for your greatest regret? And it's a big one. It's a big one.